Uhura wakes up in her sleep cubicle, which, by the way, did you like the bunk situation in the cadet rooms?
I mean, that's kind of how a submarine bunk room looks, except it's way bigger, obviously. But, yeah. I mean, even on an aircraft carrier, they look similar to that, where you can get in your bed and close the curtain or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, especially after we've now seen that the captain's quarters are the size of a large studio apartment.
Yeah, to be fair, though, Uhura's, even if that's her only quarters, quote unquote, it's still way bigger than the modern counterparts.
Oh, sure.
Way bigger.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. And I always thought when I watched the original Star Trek as a kid, like, people down around the lieutenant level probably had to stay in rooms where there was like 3 bunk beds, So it was just kind of cool to see, like, the room split into cubicles for cadets.
Yeah.
It was just kind of cool to see them kind of keep that idea around.
Something I did notice about this episode, though, the Enterprise seems to have more activity on it. There was more people walking around, and, obviously we saw Uhura's kind of living area with a couple other, not really roommates, but, bunkmates or whatever.
The ship feels more lived in.
Yeah.
Than I would say any version except, I don't know, maybe the Next Generation usually did a pretty good job of having some stuff going on in the background.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and then TOS, like the time we watched The Cage and talked about it, besides the, Gidget and Moondoggy who were on their way to the beach, you really didn't see a whole lot happening in the corridors on Pike's Enterprise at that point.
TOS as a whole was kind of like that. I mean, Occasionally, like on the naked time where everybody's intoxicated, which this episode kind of reminds me of a little bit. But you kind of see people bouncing around the ship there too, but it's not very often that you see that.
No, you really don't see that a whole lot. And to really show activity on TOS, a lot of times what they do is Kirk would say something and then everybody on the bridge would run around. And that was like, there's a lot of activity on the ship. All right, everybody run in a circle. So she wakes up, and her bunkmates, she's got a light shield up, first off, and she gets a sense of light radiating through the closed door. She opens it up, finds members of the crew standing around a simulation of the sun, and she tells the computer to end the simulation. The 2 crewmen demand to know what she's done. So they got the sun monkey on their back, They need that light, So now we can tell that the contagion is spreading. 50 members of the crew are now in sickbay, forcing Mbinga to open up the auxiliary bay to handle the overflow. Chapel says that the contract tracing was all over the place. Some were getting it from being down the hall from an infected person. Meanwhile, Uhura appeared to be just fine, despite her direct contact with 2 infected crewmen. Just then, Hammer enters, and Una asks if he found anything. The ANR engineer sarcastically replies that of course he had, because he wandered the ship in the middle of the night running diagnostics for fun. He returns to business.